Hi friends! Is everyone doing well? Today, in the 9th episode of Infinite Korean History, we'll learn about the Unification War that brought the three nations together as one. After watching this video, you will understand how the Three Kingdoms period, centered around Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla, came to an end. Shall we begin the historical story of the fierce Unification War? 5 years had passed since the death of King Jinung, who opened Silla's golden age. At that time, a great change occurred in China. For 400 years, China had been divided into many countries and went through a chaotic period. Then it was finally unified into one nation. The name of this empire was the Sui dynasty. However, Sui collapsed in just 40 years. It fell into ruin after losing the war against Goguryeo. Following the Sui dynasty, the Tang dynasty was established. Tang's culture blossomed even more brilliantly than Sui's. However, Tang also had a bitter rivalry with Goguryeo, which shared its border, and they eventually went to war. As a result, the Tang dynasty, like Sui before it, was defeated by Goguryeo. Goguryeo was truly the tiger of Northeast Asia.
Go and humble Goguryeo.
I'll show you exactly what happens when you mess with our Goguryeo.
Although Goguryeo stood tall and won against two giant Chinese empires, its national strength began to gradually weaken due to the long years of war. While the wars between the empires and Goguryeo continued, Baekje began to grow its power rapidly. At that time, Baekje viewed Silla as a sworn enemy for betraying them and taking the Han River all for itself. So, as they grew stronger, they began to harass Silla constantly. Meanwhile, Silla was in disarray due to power struggles among its nobles. During this time, King Gyebaek became the new king of Baekje and pushed Silla even harder. Finally, he succeeded in capturing over 40 of Silla's fortresses. He even attacked Hwangsanbeol, which Silla had to pass through to reach China. Thus, Silla fell into an increasingly perilous situation due to Baekje's fierce attacks.
I cannot forgive Silla for stealing the Han River from us. Tighten the noose around Silla's neck.
Baekje is getting stronger by the day. This is a disaster.
The first story of the Unification War. The Silla-Tang Alliance. There was a grateful nation that reached out to Silla in its time of crisis. It was the Tang dynasty. They promised to join forces and formed an alliance. This is the Silla-Tang Alliance, 나랑 동맹. How did this happen?
This is the only way to teach Baekje a lesson.
We are on the same side now.
In 642, King Gyebaek of Baekje attacked Silla once again. He captured Taesong, a crucial stronghold on Silla's western border. Hearing this news, Silla fell into deep shock. The person most shocked was Kim Chunchu, a royal of Jinggol rank. This was because the lord of the fortress was Kim Chunchu's son-in-law. He also heard the news that his son-in-law and his beloved daughter had both been killed.
My precious daughter and son-in-law are dead. Boo-hoo.
The ruler of Silla at the time was Queen Seondeok. She was the first queen in the history of the Korean people. A queen could emerge because, under Silla's unique social system of the bone rank system, only those of Songgol rank could become the monarch.
I am the first queen of Korean people, Queen Seondeok.
However, there were groups that opposed the queen. When Taesong fell, a rebellion even broke out against her. Fortunately, it was barely suppressed thanks to the efforts of Silla's great general Kim Il-shin.
How dare you rebel against Her Majesty the Queen? I cannot forgive this.
Around this time, Kim Chunchu visited Queen Seondeok. He made a proposal to join forces with Goguryeo to attack Baekje. Kim Chunchu wanted revenge against Baekje for killing his daughter and son-in-law.
We must hold hands with Goguryeo and attack Baekje.
It would be great if things went as planned, but I am a bit worried.
The queen accepted his proposal, and Kim Chunchu hurried to Goguryeo. He resolved again and again to achieve his goal. Upon arriving in Goguryeo, Kim Chunchu met the king. However, the negotiations went wrong from the start due to Goguryeo unreasonable demands. The king of Goguryeo demanded the Han River Basin, land currently held by Silla, as a condition for the alliance. This was equivalent to asking Silla to give up its future development.
I will join hands with Silla only if you give us the Han River territory.
That makes no sense at all.
He was greatly disappointed. Eventually, he had to return to Silla empty-handed. After a long time of deliberation, Kim Chunchu found another solution. He decided he must join forces with the distant Tang dynasty. Shortly after, he crossed over to Tang and began negotiations. Tang also set a condition for Silla. After destroying Goguryeo and Baekje, Silla would hand over the land north of the Taedong River, Goguryeu's territory, to Tang. Kim Chunchu had no other choice. Finally, in 648, the Silla-Tang Alliance was finalized.
Thank you for granting my request.
It benefits us too if things go well, so of course we should join hands.
Hearing this, Baekje could not just stand by. They proposed to Goguryeo and Wa that they stand together against the Silla-Tang Alliance. From Goguryeo's perspective, they knew they would be at a great disadvantage if Tang and Silla attacked simultaneously, so they joined hands with Baekje. As for Wa, they couldn't just watch their longtime friend Baekje fall into danger. Now it was Tang and Silla versus Goguryeo, Baekje, and Wa.
Baekje, Goguryeo, and even Wa have joined hands.
Now the enemies and allies are clearly defined.
We have also joined hands to stand against you.
Around this time, the first king of Jinggul rank appeared in Silla. That was Kim Chunchu, who came to be called King Taejongmuyeol. In the tense atmosphere of the peninsula, Goguryeo and Baekje moved first. As the two nations threatened Silla, the Tang dynasty also began to move quickly. Now the situation was reversed, and the Silla-Tang allied forces prepared to attack Baekje. This is how the Unification War began.
Shall we deal with Baekje first?
You guys definitely started this war first. Don't regret it.
The second story of the Unification War. The Master Commanders. A Master Commander Myeongjang refers to an outstanding general. Each of the three kingdoms had such generals. Goguryeo had General Yeongesomun, Baekje had General Gyebaek, and Silla had General Kim Yushin. How did this war of heroes unfold?
Gyebaek, you are incredibly persistent.
Kim Yushin, do not underestimate Baekje.
A Tang army of 130,000 and a Silla army of 50,000 headed for Baekje. Baekje's fate became like a flickering candle in the wind. There were nowhere near enough soldiers to block them. King Eja ordered his most cherished general, Gyebaek, to go to battle. He had to block the Silla army, which was arriving first at Hwangsanbeol. General Gyebaek headed to the battlefield with a suicide squad of 5,000 men.
General Gyebaek, please stop Silla at all costs.
I will sacrifice my life to protect Baekje.
Gyebaek knew well that it would be difficult to win this battle. So, before leaving for the battlefield, he said goodbye to his wife and children. With tears in his eyes, he raised his sword and killed them. He did this because he knew they would be made slaves if captured. He also gave up on surviving this battle himself. However, he swore to show Baekje's courage until the very end. General Gyebaek and his suicide squad arrived at Hwangsanbeol. They set up camp in a good defensive spot and waited for the Silla army. Shortly after, the battle began as soon as Silla arrived. The Silla army was shocked and flustered by the Baekje soldiers who were fighting with a resolve to die. Baekje fought 4 times and won all 4 times. General Gyebaek of Silla felt increasingly anxious as the promised date to meet the Tang general approached.
Let's see what you've got.
It's do or die.
I underestimated Baekje. This is going to be a problem.
The Tang general, Su Dingfang, had made a promise to King Muir of Silla before the attack. The two nations' armies were to meet in front of Sabisong, the capital of Baekje, on July 10.
You must keep the promised date.
If Silla failed to keep the promise, it was certain that Tang would make unreasonable demands. At this time, General Gyebaek thought of a tactic using the Hwarang, the pride of Silla.
Must I use the final resort now?
The Hwarang, the top elite of Silla composed of noble sons, considered it the greatest honor to fight for their country. General Gyebaek sent young Hwarang into the enemy camp to fight. First, Gyebaek's nephew, Hwarang Bangul, fought with all his might and died. Then General Gyebaek sent Hwarang Kwanchang, the young son of a relative, to the front lines.
Pride of Silla, Hwarang, sacrifice your lives for Silla.
16-year-old Kwanchang mounted his horse and charged toward the Baekje army. He fought bravely but was soon captured. General Gyebaek was surprised to see how young Kwanchang looked. Thinking it was a waste to kill him, he sent him back.
Gyebaek, you rascal, take my sword.
You're just a young lad, yet you have no fear.
However, Kwanchang took up his spear and charged into the enemy camp once again. Seeing this, General Gyebaek changed his mind and killed Kwanchang. Seeing Kwanchang's death, the Silla army wept and grew furious. At that moment, General Gyebaek shouted to his soldiers,
Soldiers of Silla, the young Hwarang are fulfilling their loyalty to the country through death. How can you fear the Baekje army and hold yourselves back? Are you not ashamed before their deaths?
Hearing General Gyebaek's words, the Silla army united as one, and the 50,000 soldiers charged toward the enemy camp without hesitation.
Army of Silla, prepare to die and drive out the Baekje forces.
Hwangsanbeol was filled with the shouts and screams of the angry Silla army and the Baekje army trying to prevent the nation's end. Eventually, the fierce Battle of Hwangsanbeol ended in a victory for Silla. What happened to Baekje's master commander, Gyebaek? He fought until the end and died along with his 5,000-man suicide squad.
My life ends here as well.
After defeating Gyebaek's suicide squad, the Silla army began to attack Sabisong. When the Tang army also attacked, Sabisong soon fell. King Uja had already fled to Ungjinsong, but it was not safe there either. Shortly after, Ungjinsong also fell, and King Uja had no choice but to surrender. Eventually, King Uja was taken to Tang along with many officials and citizens. Baekje's history, which had continued for 700 years, unfortunately came to an end like this.
700 years of Baekje history ends like this.
We are now one step closer to the unification of the three kingdoms.
King Muir of Silla was able to complete his revenge against Baekje, which had brutally killed his daughter and son-in-law. However, King Muir also died the year after Baekje's fall. In the war with Baekje, the great commander Gyebaek was sacrificed, and Silla also had to sacrifice young Hwarang in the prime of their lives. Much more time was needed for this brutal war to end. The goal of unifying the three kingdoms fell to King Mu's son, King Munmu. That's all for today's video. The story unfolded quite tensely, didn't it? Today, we started with the story of Goguryeo, which taught two empires a lesson and learned about the Silla-Tang Alliance that was formed to solve Silla's crisis caused by Baekje's threat. We also looked at the process of the Battle of Hwangsanbeol, where General Gyebaek was sacrificed as the Allied forces attacked Baekje, and the fall of Baekje. Next time, I'll tell you about the process of Goguryeo fall and the story of Silla fighting against the Tang dynasty, which tried to swallow the entire Korean peninsula. See you in the next video soon. Bye!